Will you find your friends again when you're lost at the Oktoberfest? Probably not, as John finds out the hard way. Luckily, with new friends by his side, he still ends up having one of the best days of his life. As you follow this story, you'll get a real glimpse of German culture and learn 22 essential words and phrases, all naturally woven into the English narration. The vivid context anchors the words in your memory. No flashcard, no drills. Los geht's! A1-2 Lost and found at the Oktoberfest. After 2 mugs of beer and several rides on other attractions, John was in excellent spirits. He had come to Europe from Ohio to celebrate a bachelor party at the Oktoberfest. The bachelor wore a pink unicorn costume with lederhosen over it. John was walking behind him when he tripped on his untied shoelace. He stumbled into the bachelor, mumbled "Entschuldigung," and knelt down. As he tied his shoelace, John thought back to the freefall tower they had just ridden and the breathtaking view over the Oktoberfest from the top. He wondered which attraction the bachelor would pick next. However, when John stood up again, his friends were nowhere to be seen. They didn't answer their phones, his battery was low, and he didn't know the address of their Airbnb. Panic set in. Suddenly, the sounds, lights, and crowds that had once been so entertaining felt strange and unsettling. He searched for a quieter spot to calm down and think, eventually finding a grassy slope next to one of the beer tents. After settling in, he began to relax, until he heard someone retching. Just a few meters away, a man was doubled over. "Wie geht es Ihnen?" John asked. The guy wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and casually cleaned it on his Lederhose. "Gut, danke. Und dir?" "Auch gut, danke. Woher kommen Sie?" "Do I look that old?" "You don't have to be so formal." "Wie alt sind Sie?" "No. Wie alt bist du?" "Better. Ich bin 30 Jahre alt. Wie alt bist du?" "Ich bin 24 Jahre alt. Let me try again." "Woher kommst du?" "Ich komme aus München." "Und you?" "Ich komme aus Ohio." "Oh, interesting. I had a colleague from Ohio once. Was machst du von Beruf?" "Ich bin Student." What's a student from Ohio doing all alone at the Oktoberfest? "I lost my friends and have no idea how to find them." "Yeah, good luck with that. There are hundreds of thousands of visitors every single day." John let his head hang. "You know what? I'm in a similar situation. I just chugged a mug of beer and the security guys kicked me out of the tent. My friends are still inside, so wanna team up?" John's mood brightened. "Yeah, let's have some fun. Ich heiße John. Wie heißt du?" He extended his hand. The German took John's hand and said, "Hansi, freut mich, dich kennenzulernen." John replied, "Freut mich, Sie kennenzulernen." Hansi raised an eyebrow. "I mean, freut mich, dich kennenzulernen." "You learn slowly, Johnny boy. Come, let's get something to drink." Walking past the beer tents, it didn't take long for Hansi to spot an opportunity. "Look, there's hardly any queue to get into the Löwenbräu tent." The tent Hansi pointed to had a huge lion statue mounted above its entrance. They joined the line behind 2 girls wearing dirndl. Hansi beckoned John closer and whispered, "Do you see their apron bows? They're tied on the left side. That means they're single. Let me have a go." "Entschuldigung," he said to them. The girls turned around. The shorter blonde one caught John's attention, but it was the brunette who spoke first. "Ja? You can see inside the tent, right? Can you maybe spot a pink unicorn in lederhosen somewhere?" With quizzical looks, the 2 girls leaned forward and peeked inside the tent. "No, sorry." "Danke, anyway. Johnny here flew all the way from Ohio for a bachelor party, only to lose his friends." John made an exaggeratedly sad face. The blonde spoke up for the first time. "Well, then I guess he'll have to make new ones. Hallo, Ich heiße Lisa. Und ich heiße Julia, said the brunette. John then said, You already know that ich heiße John, and the German gentleman helping me find my friends heißt Hansi. Freut mich, dich kennenzulernen, Hansi, said Julia. Suddenly, the huge lion statue mounted above the entrance startled them. It roared, then growled, Löwenbräu. Now I've seen everything, John thought. Shortly after, they were admitted to the tent and found a table with 4 free seats. Over a mug of beer, they got to know each other a little bit better. Lisa, the blonde, said, Ich bin 22 Jahre alt und ich komme aus München. Ich bin Studentin. Julia added, We're cousins. Ich bin 24 Jahre alt und ich bin hairdresser. After a relaxing mug, they headed out again. Auf Wiedersehen, Mr. Lion, John said to the lion statue. They strolled down the street with the attractions. As they passed the rides, they heard a commotion. Dirndl only round, all ladies onto the devil's wheel. The group approached the spectacle. Girls and women were sitting on a black disc set into the ground. Don't you want to try it too? Asked Hansi. No, danke, Julia answered. Once the disc starts spinning, you have to hold onto it with one hand and keep your skirt down with the other. As soon as the disc was full, the ride began. The girls sitting on the outer edges felt the strongest force and slid off first. The disc slowed so they could leave the padded landing area. Then it started spinning faster and faster. Soon, only one lady remained on the disc, a stout woman in her 40s. Despite their efforts, the attendants couldn't get her off the devil's wheel, not even with lassos. Finally, they stopped the wheel and the woman received a round of applause. The operator stepped out of his booth and spoke into his mic. Wie geht es Ihnen? Gut, danke. Und Ihnen? Auch gut, danke. The operator laughed. Wie heißen Sie? Und was machen Sie von Beruf? Ich heiße Monika Meyer und ich bin waitress at the Schottenhammel tent. How many liters of beer can you carry at once? 12, she said. Why does that not surprise me? Another round of applause for Monika. Lisa and Julia clapped enthusiastically. After the show, they felt like doing something themselves. Let's go to the toboggan, Lisa shouted. The toboggan is an attraction made up of 2 parts. First, people are transported to a platform on a giant treadmill. Then, they climb stairs and slide down a wooden slide on burlap sacks. The treadmill moves fast and upward, so many people fall while riding it. This makes the toboggan a great spectacle, drawing crowds of onlookers. John and the others stood with the crowd for a while, watching people stumble in all sorts of ways, some more painful looking than others. Julia said to Hansi, Du kommst aus München, oder? Have you been on the toboggan before? Hansi nodded. Good. I want you to hold me while we ride up together. Hearing that, John instinctively looked at Lisa. She was already smiling up at him. He swallowed, and they got in line. Hansi and Julia went first. Hansi positioned himself next to the treadmill, turned around, and took her hand. As he stepped onto the treadmill, she was pulled on along with him. For a moment they lost their balance, but then steadied themselves and rode all the way up. Still, John's heart was in his throat. He took a deep breath and got into position. Lisa put her hands in his. Ready? She asked him. I hope so, he replied. Let's do it. He stepped onto the treadmill, and Julia jumped on after him. She landed smoothly and rode up with him. Having arrived at the platform, John's head felt light. He was so relieved that he hugged her, lifted her up, and spun her around before setting her down. Entschuldigung, he said, but she laughed and took his hand again. The view from the center platform of the toboggan was amazing. They stood there for a while, the girls on the rail, the boys behind them. After a while, Lisa asked, Wie geht es dir? Very gut, danke. Und dir? Auch gut. Do you still miss your friends? Horribly, he said with a smile, hugging her more tightly. He thought he could make out a pink unicorn in lederhosen in the distant crowd, but he couldn't care less. That was this week's part of our story series, where English gradually fades and German takes over. Each episode adds a few more words, and before you know it, you'll understand full sentences without even trying. Click the screen to jump to the next part, or let the playlist run and keep learning without any breaks. And if this method works for you, subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. Bis zum nächsten Mal. See you next time.